What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Battle of Central Europe Season 3. This is going to be the third and final game in the best of 3 between Virtus.pro, Polar, and the Hellraisers to determine who's going on to the Grand Finals and who's going to be waiting in, I believe, Losers Finals, if that's what it's called. Currently 1-1, and we once again are seeing a lot of support hate, but we'll see how the draft progresses from there on out. I'm Mike Loris. I'm going to be joined by Grandis for this last game of the day. Man, this is going to be an interesting game because both sides have taken a win so convincingly. I hope it doesn't actually result in that again. I hope this one's a lot closer.
For sure. If the past is any indicator, I expect Ogre Magi to be banned out by Hellraisers, but they're definitely taking their time with this next choice, and it is going to be Brewmaster taken out first. So it's going to be an Ogre Magi first pick by VPP. No big surprises there.
I think pretty much between those two heroes, one of them was going to be first picked. Both of these two teams have so far completely ignored the Viper and the Death Prophet and Razor and Lycan, so it might be time to bust out those heroes, but if they just stay the course, especially Hellraisers after the last game, then I think they should be fine. For sure, Hellraisers' victory was a lot more convincing than VP Polar's. That doesn't really mean that much in the grand scheme of things, but already VP Polar have one of the best support heroes in the game that's left in the pool and in the game in general, so for Hellraisers, they're going to have to open up with some pretty strong heroes as well. There's no clear direction. I think something like a Tidehunter could be a nice safe pick for them.
Yeah, as far as safe picks are concerned, Tide, Puck come to mind. Yeah, I don't think you could really go wrong with something along those lines.
Right, they have been both teams working with a Puck for all of these games, and really for all of Battle Central Europe, Puck has been, I don't want to say the most commonly picked up hero because I don't know the exact stats on that, but it certainly feels like he's been in every single game, and if he's not picked, then he's banned out. So Puck is definitely the hero of Battle Central Europe, I would say. And as far as high impact heroes that are actually noticeable, if there's a trend that I can notice, then there's probably some sort of trend there. But Hellraisers, they're going to sit on this pick for just a little while, actually burning into the reserve time for the first pick. Maybe it's time to switch things up. Among heroes that have been ignored, Jakiro is also one of them and has not been touched, so maybe it's time to go for a pushing strategy.
Potentially. Potentially. Yeah, as far as other heroes that are really common inside the Battle of Central Europe, Slark's another top tier one, but then again, it is really early to see a Slark. As far as how the rest of the tournament is going to go, whoever loses here is going to be playing up against whoever wins in Lions versus Aftershock in the lower bracket final. It's going to be that Slark. First pick for Hellraisers. No big surprises just yet. I'd expect them to just pick up the Puck or the Tidehunter next, but as in all of these drafts, Hellraisers use quite a lot of their reserve time. For these first two picks, just trying to, I don't know, contemplate about the draft. Honestly, I'm not so sure if that's worth it, since there's really nothing unexpected with an Ogre Magi first pick.
And Slark is a hero that, after all this time, isn't really going to be too surprising or anything like that. As far as niche strategies, Slark can fit into mostly anything. He could play the game really quickly if he wants to, or if you want to take it late, then he can also do that. But it's a rather early Shadow Demon pickup for the Hellraisers. He was banned out in the first game. I can only assume this is going to be setting up Hellraisers for a Mirana down the line, but even if that hero is going to be banned out and Dazzle being banned out, also a nice combination with Shadow Demon, Hellraisers will be able to set up some sort of combination. Even if they want to go for a Lina, Leshrac, or a Kunkka, they will be able to set up something, and I think it's a nice change of pace for the Hellraisers, though I don't really think they need to change pace. For VP Polar, they're going to take the Faceless Void, who has been banned, I believe, in the previous 2 games.
Yeah, and this time around it is going to be Virtus.pro with a decent teamfight edge, but they already have the Shadow Demon to kind of work around that Chronosphere with defensive disruptions or disruptions on the Faceless Void himself. It's going to be a Doom ban coming out from Virtus.pro, as well as a Dazzle taken out. Very interesting, and I'd expect Witch Doctor in some shape or form to be contested in the next couple of picks. For Hellraiser's secondary support, Mirana looks pretty high up there.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Doom is actually banned out right now. It doesn't really work the best with Faceless Void, but as far as shutting down a Slark, it pretty much doesn't get better than Doom. In fact, it actually doesn't get better than Doom. I suppose Faceless Void and Doom are kind of fulfilling that same role in that they have, crowd control that you can't really argue with at all, but I don't know. It would have been okay for VP Polar. Regardless, they're going to protect their Faceless Void with that ban out. They're also going to protect Faceless Void's aggressive capabilities with the Dazzle being banned out. Not only is it good with Shadow Demon, but it's also good against Faceless Void. So I think the bans are all making a lot of sense, as of course we're going to see a Puck in this game. He's going to be banned out instead of picked, but Ancient Apparition also the ban out from Hellraisers. This is protecting their Slark by quite a bit, and it also is making a potential Witch Doctor a little bit better for them, though Witch Doctor Shadow Demon isn't really what you want. Necrophos, I think, is going to be looking a little bit more attractive for Hellraisers.
For sure. I'm always holding out for a Kunkka or Leshrac Lina to combo with the Shadow Demon, but even if they don't get anything else great to combo off of that disruption aggressively, setting up for Pounce from Slark is also pretty decent. However, they are very low on the reserve time. They need to pick up something fast. It's going to be a Death Prophet. After quite a long time of not seeing this hero touched in the earlier drafts, we're actually going to see Death Prophet's beautiful or ugly face. Not sure how you want to look at that.
It's undead? Is that how you roll?
Not how I roll, but maybe some people do.
Okay, we're not here to judge people here on HeflaTV. If you're into the undead stuff, then sure. I think she is undead. She might just be like a witch or something. I have no idea. I should probably... No, I'm not even gonna read the lore. I don't actually have no care at that at all. I don't care. But Death Prophet is gonna be the pickup anyway for Hellraisers. Already the Shadow Demon not exactly the most offensive hero in the game, so as far as playing this as a balls out aggressive strategy for Hellraisers, it can work out, but with that you usually want someone who could fight a little bit better than a Shadow Demon as one of your supports. If they're gonna just take this as a slow and steady game, that could also work out, but taking it late game versus a bloodlusted Faceless Void, it's always going to have its risks associated with it.
For sure. It's going to be Jakiro for Virtus Pro, comboing decently well with the Faceless Void, as well as giving them some early tower pushing power. It's a really nice pickup for them. Whether it's laned as an offlaner in a dual lane or as a support is yet to be seen. I'm kind of leaning towards the support Jakiro this game.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem like you want to have a core Jakiro and a core Faceless Void. The two kind of pull in different directions, with Jakiro pulling early, Faceless Void pulling late. Even though you can make it happen, it is a little bit more difficult. So if you take a support Jakiro, you'll be able to take the towers down, or at least all the tier 1s, pretty quickly, and it's not with the goal of outright winning the game, it's with the goal of getting Faceless Void just a little bit more cash and space. But for Hellraisers, we're going to see the Leshrac from them. A great combo with Shadow Demon, and with the Death Prophet, suddenly the pushing from Hellraisers is actually pretty darn high. I bet they would have loved to have a Jakiro on their team right about now.
Definitely. It's really interesting to see Hellraisers kind of move away from their first two picks, but still work with them. Witch Doctor is going to be choice for Virtus Pro, so it looks like it's going to be a core Jakiro after all. They have a lot of damage to pump into this Chronosphere, so even though Faceless Void tends to like things going late, his utility is still going to be really useful, just with the Death Ward and Macro Power. But back to Hellraiser's lineup, I quite like what they've done. Slark and Shadow Demon kind of lends itself towards aggressive play, but not aggressive in terms of going for towers. And Hellraisers have shored up their tower pushing power, as well as just their ability to kill off heroes very well with these next couple of picks. And their lanes look really solid on top of it all. As far as their last pick is concerned, Tidehunter looks pretty good, but I'd expect that to be banned out by VPP.
Yeah, for both sides actually, Tidehunter not looking too terrible, as Witch Doctor synergy with Tidehunter is pretty darn good. Having just a really bulky hero on the front lines is never really going to be a bad thing for you, so maybe the lanes from VP Polar are going to be a little bit awkward after that, but still, it would be really nice in the Hellraisers and should be a consideration for the boot for VPP towards Hellraisers. As far as going any more into the pushing, I don't think they're going to be committing anything else into the pushing unless they really want to go deep and pick up another Enchantress. That would be so sweet to see, but the core Leshrac is probably a little bit too hopeful. Phoenix ban out, which I'm pretty sure just means VP Polar have no idea what Hellraisers want, so they're just going to ban out something that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it might have worked out for Hellraisers. Honestly, I haven't seen a Phoenix do much of anything. It's going to be a last pick Omni Knight for Hellraisers, and I absolutely love it. Guardian Angel up against Faceless Void is quite possibly one of the best defensive tools inside Chronosphere if you're able to position yourself accordingly, and a Blink Dagger on Omni Knight should do the trick. Between Disruption as well as GA, the Void himself isn't going to be able to do much, and Repel is just going to be so useful for Hellraisers. Going for this early aggression with the Slark and DP, no natural diffusal carriers on VPP. Maybe Faceless Void picks one up, but would much rather have Lifesteal as his orb.
And it's just going to be so difficult to kill off these Hellraisers heroes. You have to burst down a Slark, otherwise he's just going to Shadow Dance or pounce away, and good luck bursting him down when you have Purification to work with, and Repel, and maybe even a Guardian Angel, and a Shadow Demon Disruption. So many defensive tools from the Hellraisers side, and it's not really sacrificing their aggressive capabilities either, because they have such great combinations with the Shadow Demon Leshrac, with the Slark pounce into Purification, which maybe is a little bit more hopeful, but it's still a combination that's worth considering. The Hellraiser side with this Omni Knight, the only concern is, can Omni Knight get farm in lane? And I think with the laning situation that they have, the answer should be a pretty okay amount of farm, at least a functional amount of farm. So the mag on the VP Polar side, gonna add a little bit more team fight for them. They have a perfectly fine lineup, but Hellraisers, they definitely broke out a couple of creative picks for this one. I think their draft works almost perfectly.
Yeah, I definitely like it, and I think it's going to be Goddamn on the Leshrac as well as Dread on the Shadow Demon to run the pace of the game. The other heroes on Hellraiser's side, it's going to be Artist farming on the Slark F&Inch. On the Death Prophet, leaving last but not least, are Omni Knight, played by Goritz.
And on VP Polar, Illidan Stormrage is going to be playing the Faceless Void down towards bottom for now, joined by Lil's Witch Doctor and FNG's Ogre Magi. Mag is going to be playing the Mag, so that's extremely convenient over in the mid lane, and DK Phobos is going to be handling the off-lane Jakiro, going toe-to-toe with the Omni Knight, and Jakiro should have a fantastic time there, though Omni Knight does have boots first, so it's not out of the question that Goritz is going to be able to survive most of the onslaught of Jakiro. The chip damage is going to be slow and steady, and that usually does win the race, but of course, because we have Jakiro versus Omni Knight up towards top, we have ourselves a 3v3 bloodbath of a lane down towards bottom, and I'm pretty sure I will give the edge to Hellraisers, albeit a slight one. The fragility of Leshrac, you can never forget about that, because this hero is pretty much paper. If they get a single jump in on him, then he's just going to die, and this is going to be said jump. However, this will be a 3v4. VP Polar have the element of surprise, it will be enough. They have the cast open up. They're going to instead stun out Dread. They're going to try to focus down the Shadow Demon. In fact, everyone for Hellraisers is here. This is a 5v3, and now Illidan, he's going to time walk out, barely surviving. No, he's going to get hit with one right click from Affluent in the low ground. That's going to be one down. Now into FNG, they go. They do not have any more slows, any more crowd control effects. They're going to miss the splitter. One more hammer blow will kill off the Ogre. That's 2-0 in favor of Hellraisers. Pretty much doesn't get any better than that. And if you're VPP, you never expect there to be 5 heroes down there. That is pretty much unheard of.
No, it's really not. Virtus Pro were looking for the jump onto Hellraisers, and man, they got a huge surprise. It is going to sacrifice a little bit of the lane situation for the Omni Knight in particular, but since he got one of those skills and the experience for another one, doesn't really get much better than that for Hellraisers. Securing first blood and another kill on top of it, this is going to fuel their aggression down the bottom lane, and pretty much everywhere else for that matter. Death Prophet going to have a fine time in mid up against Magnus, and all of the aggression should be focused down in bot.
Of course, VP Polar not with the best start, but when you're working with a Chronosphere and an RP and a Death Ward, it's never, ever, ever going to be over. So they're starting at a disadvantage, but once they get their level 6s up, then they could very easily bring all of the game back because of the power of their ultimates, assuming they actually get those ultimates to land. The bottom lane situation for VP right now is going to be a 3v2 situation. Slark is not really being pressured that much, as Goddamn trying to poke, but they know that Time Walk level 1 is skilled up from the Faceless Void. If he decides to go in towards Goddamn, then Goddamn is taking a lot of damage guaranteed, and I think they do have enough damage to burst down the Leshrac. Honestly, I think they probably should have gone for the Leshrac to start off that fight near the Roshan pit, but they decided to go for the Shadow Demon, which is, I suppose, also worthwhile. You gotta kill him off, otherwise he'll get the Disruption out, and they didn't kill him off, so we got the Disruption out anyway, so no win scenario there for VP, and we'll see if they can recover. It might just be them taking a lead in the lanes, but looking at these lanes, if they do take a lead, it's not going to be by a huge margin.
Definitely, especially in the offlane for the Omni Knight. He's going to get pretty much unobstructed experience, but getting the farm is a different story. Lucanfire is always going to be really annoying into Goritz, and he will be able to sustain through this. In the meantime, it's going to be Faceless Void, time walking down the low ground. He'll be able to get the salve off, but Faceless Void eating the brunt of Shadow Demon Disruption into the Split Earth.
And he also got cursed up, so he took pretty much the max amount of damage from that, and also got his salve cancelled to boot. Played it safe for a little while, thinking, oh, well, if I go over there, I'm just going to die. So he didn't die, but still taking quite a bit of damage, and he's going to be roughed up pretty bad. And if Faceless Void's not at tip-top fighting shape, this bottom lane VP Polar is not going to bear fruit. That being said, top lane is doing pretty decently with DK Phobos' matchup. The damage he can put onto Goritz is going to be huge, and it's going to be sustained. So Omni Knight has a Magic Wand level 1, or Magic Wand very early on, it's going to be helpful, but it's the liquid fire that you have to worry about, and Magic Wand does not charge up from liquid fire.
Yeah, Goretz is still going to hit his level 4 very quickly, however, and is going to be able to get enough farm to get a Soul Ring, Arcane Boots, whatever the choice is going to be. It looks like it is going to be Tranquils into Soul Ring.
Pretty standard stuff from DK Phobos for the most part. Usually you don't see Jakiros just soloing a lane that's a safe lane. If they're soloing a lane, it's usually towards off, and usually it's a lot more of a budget build, but I think this is a fine build for him, and it's also going to be a build that's more or less replicated by the Omni Knight. So top lane, don't expect there to be that much. Looking towards mid now, Death Prophet, I don't think anyone should be surprised that she's holding a lead over Mag. Just by a slight one, though. It's only 7 CS, and if Mag finds a good rune and rotates down to the bottom lane, he could redeem all of that difference back, but it's still a one lane for Hellraisers. They're going to start diving deep, going to go for Lil. He's going to charge forward. The heal is ticking away, but it's going to be him to fall first before goddamn Illidan with one more hit. Not quite going to do it. Doesn't really want to time walk for it, but he'll get the kill anyway with the boots. Now FNG trying to go for Dread and RTs both, but they're doing so much damage to this Ogre. They're going to try to peel back towards Illidan, who gets a lucky first hit bash on a Dread. Now they have Lil coming in as well. Doesn't have a cast though. Dread taking quite a bit of damage. Will be probably a trade for FNG, and with one more hit, it will be an even trade. RTs has no pounce out of this, however. He's completely surrounded in creeps. He will have a pounce eventually, but here comes goddamn once again. Time walk in from Illidan. He's going to lay into RTs, but he just can't have enough damage output. Now Afro Ninja's here with the Crypt Swarms. This is going to make the difference. The lightning's going to fly through, hit onto everyone. Now Lil is going to be the one in the exact same situation RTs was previously. FNG is rejoining this fight, but Lil, for the most part, is already dead. They're going to let us down on goddamn cast bouncing through. Goddamn, might be dying before Lil, so Lil gets speed, but no, not with the Shadow Demon Disruption. Illidan and FNG are also going to fall, pounced down by the Slark, and now FNG is the last one to survive. VP Polar, all things considered, I thought they would have died a lot faster with the Death Prophet coming in. They managed to survive, but just having one more hero there, pretty much guaranteeing a win for the Hellraisers bottom lane.
Completely, especially for the Slark, who's able to get out alive throughout all of that, surprisingly. 2-0-2. He's having a grand old time, and right now it's looking good for Hellraisers. An absolute bloodbath in bottom. Magnus is picking up some farm in mid while the Death Prophet is out rotating, but Aphonia doesn't actually lose much either.
Alright, so 6-3 right now, and Hellraisers off to a pretty nice start. That being said, their CS situation right now isn't the best. Goretz, of course, can't really step up to the creep wave without getting a face full of fire. And if he gets too much fire, then he could very easily go down in this top lane. So he's not last hitting very well. The Slark also is playing things very cautiously, though 2-0-2 score will make it so that his net worth and experience is keeping up. He's still not CSing the best, especially when you compare him to Illidan Stormmage, who does have 2 deaths to his name, to be fair, is last hitting quite a bit more comfortably. So for VP Polar, it's not exactly the start that they really wanted, but they're not behind by all that much. So right now they should be happy with where they are, especially once they're going to hit those level 6 marks. They're going to be very happy with where they are. Still a little bit always away. Mag has his, but he's now going to get jumped by Dread and goddamn skewering in the bubble up to the high ground. That's never where you want to be. Teleport out, lightning bolt will kill off the Magnus. I've actually never seen the moving disruption before. Usually they just stop moving, but that will happen and Mag will go down.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty easy kill for Hellraisers, and right now, pretty much everything's going right for them. The Slark isn't farming that great, now getting bashed, that's not going to help Artists at all. But 2-0-2 is going to make up for that slightly. Still needs babysitting down in bottom. Faceless Void's still out farming Artists, and just raw numbers. Power Trip's completed over just the casual bracer on the Slark. He'll ping out Illidan. If they get the disruption as well as the Split Earth onto the Faceless Void, there is some potential for a kill, but Time Walk should keep Illidan alive in most situations.
And Illidan right now is just all by himself down on this bottom lane. A Split Earth will put a lot of damage into Illidan, but now that he has Chronosphere, he has an option to leave the lane. I don't really know where he's going to go with this Chronosphere if he does decide to leave. Top lane, they're going to apply a little bit more pressure still with this Witch Doctor being added to this lane combo, and Jakiro is already doing fantastically just by himself. So Omni Knight is now completely shut down, but it's at the expense of Illidan. They have FNG wandering around trying to go for mid, but Mag can't really set anything up either. The Mag needs his Blink Dagger and or more levels of Skewer, but it's going to be bottom lane. This time there's no Skewer to get anyone out of this. Illidan trying to turn around for Chronosphere. I think we'll backtrack that the stun. Now he's going to try to go for RTs. However, he's out of mana. He has Magic Stick charges, but he's already dropping way too low. RP is going to go off on the sidelines. Chronosphere catches 3, which is a really nice one, but there's literally no follow-up except for Ice Path, which is going to do next to nothing. Dread will drop to a Shockwave. A 1-for-1 trade that so far Hellraisers are okay making as Affinage charges forward for more. He might catch up to FNG, but it will be very slight if at all. Mag is cut off. He has to go the long way around, and RT's with the Shadow Dance movement speed, he's going to be able to cut off the Mag so very easily. With the Pounce landing, okay, maybe not. Mag's going to have a little bit more free time to run, and he will skewer down to the low ground. Not really anywhere to run from here, but he will join up with FNG, and they should make it out alive with said Mag. And looks like that should just about be the end of it. Unfortunately, though, faces Void dying again, and Illidan with maybe 2 consecutive games where he just doesn't get that much going.
Yeah, and with the support rotations toward top, Shutdown is a relative term for the Omni Knight, still sitting at level 8 and is doing just fine for himself. Currently maxed out Purification, as well as 3 points up in the Repel. They are going to find the jump. The Ice Pat's going to land onto Dread. Artist over doing a decent amount of damage to DK Phobos. Not before Dread's going to fall. Nice Split Earth catches out too. Not going to save the Shadow Demon's life. FNG looking for the TP out. It's going to be denied by the pounds coming out from Artist.
Man, this game is already not looking that great for VP Polar. Their ultimates, I don't know how many heroes the RP hit the first time. I want to say it was just 1 on the bottom lane, but they're just constantly giving away trades that they should never really feel comfortable making. Even if it was just Ogre for Shadow Demon, not exactly sure if that's great for VP Polar, but also losing the Jakiro to boot, it's definitely not looking that great for them. Fortunately for them, they haven't yet to lose any sort of towers, and they haven't had to fight against the Omni Knight, but that's probably even scarier because Omni Knight has been not a part of these fights at all. It's just 4 heroes from Hellraisers doing pretty damn well against 5 heroes of Virtus Pro Polar. Once you add in the Purification and the Repels, and of course down the line the Guardian Angel as well, any Chronosphere, any Death Ward combination, that's not going to do that much.
For sure. Right now it's still going to be waiting for Hellraisers to actually put everything together. Their tower pushing power is pretty limited, with the lower level into Exorcism still only level 1. Max out Witchcraft is coming at level 9, unless she opts for the Pointless Silence. But Leshrac is opting for the full nuking build instead of going for Edict, which I think is a fine choice coming out from Goddown, but it is also going to make it to where pushing into these tier 1s and subsequently into the tier 2s is a little bit more difficult for them. Slark's going to pick up his Midas, not the fastest one I've seen, but it's because he goes for these intermediary items in the Magic Wand as well as the Bracer.
And that's not going to be a Midas mirrored by anyone on VP Polar, and still the Slark is holding more net worth than anyone on VP Polar, so that's still something to be happy about. And something else to be happy about is the Initiation up on top. There's the Initiation and the Split Earth landing squarely onto Lil's face. Lightning Bolt will strike him down, although Artis will take the kill. Here comes Mag, has an opportunity here for an RP. However, he gets body blocked a little bit, and RP and to Skewer, there's gonna land onto 3, Skewer backwards, but it's gonna miss the Macrofire Ice Path. No, Mag taking him too far. They will kill out the Shadow Demon, and they will jump forward for a very nice Chronosphere. Lil now with the Death Ward, going to shred down 1, now into Goddamn, that's gonna be 2. Artis is going to survive and kill off the Ogre, and the sidelines is repelled, but still a pretty nice turnaround from VP Polar. They're going to look for a little bit more. Artis playing games with DK Post will get stunned up once. Here comes Illidan Stormwitch with physical right-click damage. Artis might be going down here. Needs a little bit more of this. The Maledict will kill him off. Now into Affinage, but you cannot fight into Exorcism. That is just suicidal. DK Phobos off to the sides. Throw out another Ice Path. Will land a Liquid Fire onto Affinage as well. Dual Breath before he dies, but the Dragon will be going down here. Dread getting wrapped up really, really badly. Will put Mag in a bubble, but it won't be for very long. Mag's going to skewer forward, get that kill as well. TPing back in. Goddamn and Omni Knight looking to rejoin this fight. Mag has a narrow Blink Dagger though, so he will be able to escape. And I think overall VP Polar, they turned things around off of amazing ultimates. That's exactly what I was talking about before. All they needed was an opportunity, and my god did they get it, killing off everyone from Hellraisers. They had to buy back on the Witch Doctor, which kind of sucks, but he has 1,000 gold. It doesn't seem like he bought back. At least it didn't affect him that much.
Definitely not. Virtus Pro could have gotten a little bit cleaner if Mag didn't skewer them all the way out of the Macro Power, if it was just a little bit shorter. But still, connecting with the 3-man RP, 3-man skewer, then into the Chronosphere onto 3 with the Death Ward going. That's the power of these ultimates, and it's keeping them in the game for now. Still not all as shiny and rosy for Virtus Pro Polar. The Faceless Void still doesn't have that much farm. With just the Power Treads and Orb of Venom, he's been sitting on those same items for the greater portion of 6 minutes. Not really much you can do about that, however. And so they just need to wait until those cooldowns are up again. They can look to take fights of a similar magnitude. If they're able to get a lucky Invis Rune again, the Magnus could be huge.
Well, Mag has a Blink now, so maybe he doesn't even need that Invis Rune. Also, Blink Skewer on the table for getting solo pickoffs. The problem is for VP, though, is that their net worth isn't quite keeping up with the Hellraisers. They're still not doing terribly, But because they're not ahead in gold, or, you know, are they even? It's actually pretty darn close. So they're even in gold, so they will be able to take some decent fights outside of huge chronospheres and huge RPs. Of course, they'll be stronger when those ultimates are up, but they just have to make sure that they're not going to get slightly behind, because when they are, then they're going to be 100% reliant on those ultimates in order to fight, and then Hellraisers will be able to fight in between those cooldowns. Still, I suppose it's nice to have ways of getting yourself out from a disadvantage, but it's never really where you want to be. VP Polar, they're going to smoke up with Mag and the Witch Doctor. They're going to go towards top and Goretz. He has Guardian Angel, Purification. He's going to get straight up RP'd, skewered back into a Cask Death Ward. No chance to do anything. Where's your spell casting now, Omni Knight?
Absolutely nowhere, because he can't get anything off. It's a pretty straightforward kill onto the Omni. And Virtus Pro, whenever they have those cooldowns available, they can look for pickoffs like that. It's not as straightforward as Batrider Lasso, but it's pretty darn good where that's concerned. The Death Prophet and Slark are still really farmed. The Omni Knight's not doing too poorly for himself. Even though this game is really close, so scratch that, we are going to have a potential fight up towards top. It's just going to culminate into a tower denial after 2 forced out TPs.
That's fine as well. Hellraisers just denying that gold over to VP Polar, but what's not good is that goddamn's gonna get hit with the Chronosphere. There's backup here. Dread looking for an angle to get the disruption. Will get it onto the Leshrac, and that'll force Illidan back, but it will buy time for a multicast to come in. Ignite onto goddamn. He will get healed so much. Purification, stick charges all the way back up to full as if nothing happened at all. Even with the multicast, not quite enough damage from the Ogre Magi, and unfortunately, Illidan, he's not really capable of doing much damage within the Chronosphere. He needs his allies' help, and he did not have any allies nearby.
Yeah, right now, Goddamn is going to be saving up for a hand of Midas, and as far as supports that scale incredibly well with levels and farm, I think Leshrac is one to get the Midas, or at least one that should be getting the Midas. Pretty often. Magnus is going to be killed off by the DP up towards top. Looks like he just got pounced. I wasn't expecting him to die there, but apparently that's going to be the case. Siphonian is going to be able to take the tier 1 tower after the fact with the remainder of Exorcism.
Or at least for VP Polar, they're going to be able to make a trade. However, they don't have really any ultimates here. Now, Illidan's going to get split earth upon. He's also going to get pounced. Purification just missing, though, and RT is now to the Shadow Dance, looking to chase forward for DK Phobos. Does not have an Orb of Venom, so this kill is going to be very impossible to get. Jakiro actually kills off Leshrac with Liquid Fire, I assume. Now they're going to turn around to Goretz, but the Purification will keep him up once again. Illidan's Stormrage dropping very low. There's the heal from Lil, and it looks like Illidan's going to survive and channel the Death Ward onto Goretz. Fire Blast, and no time for GA. He's going to be going down. That's going to be 2 kills down towards bottom. DK Phobos' dots, not to be underestimated, as they do clean up quite a few kills over on the bottom lane, and they don't lose the Faceless Void. Faceless Void, he's doing what he can, so I guess that's fair enough, but Illidan, he's at least surviving, and it's going to mean more farm for the Jakiro, more farm for all the other supports. And Witch Doctor, he's halfway to his Aghanim Scepter, and that, in and of itself, can win you a couple fights.
It definitely can, especially if those fights start off with a huge RP or a black hole. And honestly, he's probably the one to do most of the work inside the Chronosphere. Even though Illidan's sitting on the Mask of Madness, that's a decent amount of damage if you're able to get the bashes to follow that up. It just doesn't really compare to an Aghanim Scepter Witch Doctor ulti.
Well, bottom lane, they're going to look to set up onto RTs potentially. It's going to be really, really hard because there's an Omni Knight here, and we've already seen how much survivability he can give to the rest of his team. Suddenly, FNG, the ganker, is going to become the ganky. 2x multicast, pretty nice. He's going to teleport out of here, and the burst damage not quite going to be enough. FNG, though, the Yule Scepter is now doomed to fall. And Death Prophet getting in there at the exact perfect timing with that Yule's to secure the kill for the team. Kind of bold for FNG to actually be there in the first place. Yeah, DK Phobos nearby, but Jakiro at this point, not sure if he's going to be able to do all that much, especially up against those numbers disadvantage. And now it's over towards mid lane. Hellraisers are going to set their sights. They have Illidan Stormrage in sights, and they have a smoke to conceal their advance. But it looks like VP Polar know about this, or at least they're not going to push it. Though they do have the RP and the Chronosphere and the Death Ward. I think they actually can fight this, just the element of surprise, maybe a little bit too much.
For sure. Right now, the smoke coming out from Artis as well as Dread looking to catch somebody out with the disruption into Pounce, and that person might be the Jakiro. From the high ground, the smoke is going to pop. The Exorcism, I believe that's going off the sidelines. They turn around with the Chronosphere onto 2, but that's where it's not being channeled. They get a macro power down as well as an Ice Path Dread. Doomed to fall. Now Artis, he's going to get RP'd, immediately purging that off and get off the ultimate. He's going to be able to pounce down to the low ground and survive. Illidan surviving on very low HP. As Goddamn's on the sidelines, Phonia is going to be able to finish off that Faceless Void with Exorcism now going to town on onto Lil. TP attempt coming out from this Witch Doctor is going to fail because of the damage coming out from this DP, and had the Eul Scepter if things really got heated. Artist still continuing to chase as he's back up to full after healing on the sidelines. Doesn't have any way to bridge the gap for that pounce, and they'll just take a tier 1 tower as well.
He's going to get repelled and wants to go for a little bit more. Suddenly FNG cannot do anything as Artis is going to charge forward. Will not find anyone, but he's going to pick up a Shadow Blade. Is pretty much the same story as game number 1. VP Polar, they used the Chronosphere, catching 2, pretty perfectly done, but Jakiro unfortunately did not expect that to happen, was up in the air. If he had Macropyre on the floor, instead of being, thrown up into the air by himself, that would have been a kill on the Slark at the very, very least. Of course, they did get the kill on the other hero as well. I believe it was Leshrac in there, I'm not entirely sure, but they would have had 2 kills, and that could have changed the fight. Faceless Void would have for sure gotten out of there alive, but instead he takes his 4th death of the game, all because the Jakiro, well, didn't quite get a good read on what his allies were doing. So VP, their ultimate's okay, but definitely not good enough, especially that RP to follow up. They tried to chain stun the Slark perfectly, but they just fell short, and if you give Slark just a millisecond, he will pack everything out. So 17 to 15 now, and VP Polar still not doing too terribly as far as the net worth and experience is concerned, but it just seems like these fights from Hellraisers are just so much easier to execute. They're reliant on their Death Prophet ultimate to fight, but that's so much easier to actually land and have an impact than an RP and a Chronosphere.
Yeah, you pretty much just push R and run into the engagement. They found a jump onto the Faceless Void, looking for the silence after the fact, and it is going to connect as well as that Split Earth. Illidan is completely screwed. That's going to be his 5th death of this game, excuse me.
And the Death Prophet, 20 seconds until the Exorcism is up, now level 14, so that the Exorcism is almost going to be completely maxed out. They will still go for a little bit of chip damage on this tier 2 anyway, just to force the hand of VP Polar. With 20 seconds Voids down, they don't really have much to worry about. And even though they don't have any Edict from Leshrac, it looks like this tower is going to be going down even without the ultimate from Death Prophet. VP Polar, they can't afford to defend right now. If they do try, they will just get completely demolished right now. The Death Prophet also has her Exorcism, so they can even go for a high ground push, but no, they're going to play it a little bit slower, a little bit safer. Slark has his Shadow Blade, and we have yet to see that come into play, but when it does come into play, I don't believe VP Polar have any True Sight.
No, and even if they did, like, Artis is still going to have Repel on him and be almost impossible for them to kill without them blowing a Chrono, and even then, it's not guaranteed by any means, so we'll just have to see. Magnus going to have that completed 4 staff up. As far as items for Hellraisers are concerned, Eul Scepter is the newest picked up for the Omni Knight. A little bit of extra movement speed as well as mana sustain definitely doesn't go amiss onto Omni. Outside of that, we don't really have anything huge, although DP is sitting on a large lump sum of gold, 3,500 in the bank.
Probably just getting raw HP or survivability for the DP is probably going to be the best, knowing that she's going to be Chronosphered, or a high priority for a Chronosphere RP. Just surviving that is the best you could hope for him. To a lesser extent, that's why the Omni Knight picked up his Eul Scepter as well. His job is to support his allies, and so far I don't even think we've seen a GA, but between GA, Repel, and Purification, the odds of VP Polar actually getting a kill once Faceless Void jumps in, most of the time he's just going to get Euls into the air, even if he does land a Chronosphere. So Omni Knight is going to do his support job, and he's going to do his support job damn well. No mech on the Hellraiser side, but I think that is just fine because VP Polar don't have a mech for themselves either. VP Polar, they have only taken 2 towers in this game, and with the Jakiro, that's extraordinarily low for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's going to be a BKB for the Death Prophet, not relying fully on the Omni Knight and his Repel is going to be pretty nice for them. As far as the Jakiro and Ogre Magi is concerned, it does give you a little bit of HP from the Ogre Plug component. I would have liked to see just the Raw Heart for Afro Ninja a little bit better. To each his own. BKB is not a bad item at all. Slark currently hunting deep behind enemy lines, waiting a little bit till he has his Shadow Blade cooldown. Doesn't have the greatest of mana pools, but they're going to be forced to fight, and this could be a huge wraparound on the back lines. I think he's been spotted out by FNG, and if he wasn't already, he is now. Pounce from the Slark is going to miss onto FNG, turns for a Fire Blast, is going to multicast, Skewer misses, Time Walk, and Artist is just making all sorts of space. Tier 2 tower and mid's already gone.
And with the rest of that Exorcism, they're going to try to go for this bottom tier 1. I think with level 2, they will be able to grind it down before the Death Prophet ultimate wears off, and they will do that. So 2 towers, now VP Polar. I think making the safe decision, taking a fight with Exorcism up, is never really what you want to be doing, especially when you're in this type of situation where you're behind like this for VP. So they make the correct decision, but it's still going to give a lot more golden experience towards the Hellraiser side. Maybe they're going to catch Hellraisers right now, and that's the best time for VP Polar to fight. Unfortunately, they blow the surprise with Illidan Storm Rage time walking in. I don't know if that was spotted by Goddamn, but even if he was, he has a haste rune, so this horse guy is going to be very hard to catch up with, and it's just going to be a clean 2-tower destruction from Hellraisers. They are just going to probably sit back and chill for another minute or so. Hopefully for the Death Prophet, he will have a level 3 ultimate by then, and then going for the last tier 2s is going to be a cakewalk, and going for the tier 3s is going to be possible.
For sure. As far as the Leshrax's item build this game, I'm not exactly sure what he is going to go for. BKB for himself wouldn't be a bad choice, just so he's able to stay on the front lines, but it looks like it's just going to be a Bloodstone for Goddamn. Also reasonable. Extra tank and survivability. Man sustain, can't really ask for much more from an item on your Lesh.
Yeah, it's pretty standard item build as well, so there's nothing too questionable about that. He's going to get set up upon Ice Path. I mean, that's not exactly how you do it. Ice Path will connect in the end. He will dodge Split Earth. With Mag coming in as well, they might get this kill. RP onto 2, but one's already repelled, and the other one's getting put into a bubble, so there's no one to go for here. Magnus is going to teleport out. Jakiro is going to walk away, but that's RP used for exactly nothing. I don't think if that combo landed from Jakiro, it would have made much of a difference, but man, Hellraisers, they're just playing so well right now. They're making sure that no one is going to be dying, and it's been quite a long time since VP Polar have taken a fight that's in their favor.
Yeah, honestly, the last one that comes to memory is the fight up top where they got the 3-man RP off of the Invis rune, and that feels like ages ago, and probably because it was. Right now, Hellraiser is sitting on a pretty comfortable lead. They do need to consider going for a high ground push eventually, but right now, just based on the farm distribution of Virtus Pro Polar, Faceless Void isn't going to be super scary late game. Currently less farmed than the Leshrac and the Omni Knight of the enemy team. He just hasn't been able to find anything out of this map. 2-5-5 on Illidan.
I can't help but think for VP Polar it would have been a lot safer for them to once again just have nice and defensive lanes for Illidan. That's where Illidan really thrives. When you give him a protected lane of farm, when you give him, you know, a 3v1 lane up on top lane in this case for the Dire, that's where Illidan really does his best. And well, putting him in the offensive tri lane, risky in and of itself, and it did okay, but certainly not well enough. So I don't know. Really, VP Polar have been winning many games in this tournament off of Illidan's Naga Siren, and maybe that was even a way to go, but still, it's not looking too good for them, as they're going to lose a top tier 2 without doing anything in response. The Death Prophet, not quite at that level 16, but once she pops that, I'm pretty sure as soon as she does, it's going to be a tier 3 tower push from the Hellraisers. The positioning for that is going to be benefiting VP Polar quite a bit, but not if Mag gets picked off right now. Has a Force Staff, has a Skewer out, but is it going to matter? Probably not, because he is going to be Yules and then brought down. Mag down for a whole minute, and now Hellraisers conveniently right next to Roshan. Might as well go for that one. Or might as well go for Lil, who is juking around the trees, will be able to escape, but with Exorcism up, Roshan is not going to last long at all.
For sure. I don't think there's really a chance that Virtus Pro can take this fight, although they might try with Faceless Void Chronosphere inside the pit. That is really scary if they're able to combo everything correctly, but they are going to lose the Aegis to start things off. That's a double life for Artis. They'll throw an Ice Path, but that's all that they can do, and it doesn't even connect onto anything. Right now, Shadowblade popped by Artis. He can play so aggressively with this newly acquired Aegis on his person. For Virtus Pro Polar, they do have some tools now to help up against Hellraiser's lineup. Diffusal Blade on the Jakiro, although it looks really awkward, is solely for the purpose of taking away Repel as well as Guardian Angel from the Omni Knight. But one Diffusal Blade doesn't really cut it, especially when DK Phobos isn't actually able to abuse that orb in any form or fashion. Virtus Pro Polar still rely very heavily on finding good RP, finding a good Chronosphere, and getting the Macro Power and Witch Doctor Ultimate to get the damage through during those spells.
And said Witch Doctor Ultimate for VP Polar should be Aghanimed by the time the push is incoming for Hellraisers. There's only about 200 gold needed until the Witch Doctor has that upgrade, and that with the Chronosphere combination might just be enough for VP Polar to take a decent team fight, especially if it's a surprise to Hellraisers. There's not that much counterplay that they could actually use for the Witch Doctor, but maybe just reserving Eul Scepter for him, or reserving a Silence for him or something like that, as Eul Scepter is, or Aghanim Scepter now is up. Artees is going to get caught in a Chronosphere, but the damage from Illidan is so pitiful that it's going to be Artees to escape. Gets RP'd and gets skewered. He might be going down here, and he will lose his Aegis, but he has backup incoming, so VP Polar have got to get the hell out of here. They're going to Macropyre, which is going to do literally no damage. FNG is going to teleport out. Slark on the hunt will go for that Jakiro. Eul Scepter from Omni Knight going to catch DK Phobos. The pounce going to miss because of the Jakiro's own Eul Scepter, and DK Phobos getting get Force Staffed out, however, the wrong direction. Gonna throw an Ice Path because why not, but will be going down anyway. with the Jakiro down, this is going to prompt Hellraisers to push. They have 20 seconds until their ultimate is back up on DP, and this is going to be the defense. If VP Polar can make this happen, they're still in this game. Otherwise, I think they're just out.
Definitely. Right now, they've blown both of their big lockdown ultimates, and it's going to rely very heavily on Hellraisers messing up during this push. They'll repel up Aphonia, but even though he doesn't have his ultimate for a couple of seconds, it'll be there for the majority of this push. He's going to pop it immediately. Tier 3 tower going to drop very fast. As soon as this glyph wears off, more or less, Lil is close, and they might be able to slow down this push a little bit with an Ignite and a Paralyzing Cask, but Death Prophet's just comfortably sitting on the front lines. Not much else that he can do about this TP. That's your Tier 3 tower falling for not really anything spent by Hellraisers, except for that Exorcism cooldown.
30 seconds until VP Polar can actually fight. They need this RP and or the Chronosphere. Ideally, they would have both, and fortunately for them, the cooldowns are going to be lined up in such a way that they will have both. But Hellraisers, they walk in, they clean up a Tier 3 tower, and then they walk out. Not much committed, not much lost. In fact, nothing lost, but a hell of a lot gained. More map control, I suppose. It's going to be mid lane to... whenever it does push in, will apply permanent damage onto those range Raxes. So VP Polar, they can't defend because they end up blowing their entire payload on the Slark, which is justified, I would say, but they really need one of these big AoE ultimates in order to land, in order to take these team fights. And Hellraisers, for another minute, their job is to chill and farm. By then, we're going to have a Bloodstone completed on Leshrac. Shiva's Guard is already completed on the Death Prophet. Aghanim Scepter might be completed on Goretz. It's going to be really close, but the moral of the story is that Hellraisers are going to have a ton of items. Whereas for VP Polar, what are they going to have? BKB on Void, and that's it? That's not good enough.
No, it's really not, and at Illidan's current farming rate, it's not out of the question that he doesn't even finish up that BKB before the next fight. Right now, the hero that matters for VP Polar is Lil. If he's able to get off a good ultimate, they can turn a fight around with a beautiful RP and Chronosphere, but anything short of 3-man Chrono or 3-man RP just isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, they need lots of value out of these big AoE teamfight ultimates, and they also need Lil to be very far back. If he gets hit with the Stray Silence from the Death Prophet, or if he's close enough to get thrown up to the air with the two Yule Scepters from the Hellraiser side, or if he's just assassinated by the Slark from the beginning, which is also a possibility, then it's just all over for VP Polar because they don't have enough damage to follow up. Even if a Macropyre is to land on 2 or 3 people with the Chronosphere, maybe those 2 or 3 people are going to die, or maybe Omnite bails them out, but Mag, he has an Invis Rune. Oh man, are we going to see a repeat of the top lane fight because Hellraisers, or VP Polar rather, they desperately need it. RP is going to be able to catch no one right now. Now it's going to catch one. Or Skewer back on a goddamn, thinking about it. Blink, Skewer, going to catch one. He's going to bring him right back into a Fire Blast. Look at Fire as well. Chronosphere onto 2, but there's no follow-up just yet. Where's Lil's ultimate? There it is, but Artis is right on top of him. Going to make short work of the death of the Witch Doctor. That will be a 2 for 0 so far. Now the Guardian Angel is up, plus the Exorcism. Magnet throw an RP, but we'll get silenced halfway through that cast, and he has nowhere to go. He's going to drop the gem on the floor. FNG is also going to fall. The Jakiro is going to get out of there, but he has no more allies left to defend. Fortunately for them, there's a Tier 2 tower here, which is going to slow down the high ground push. But man, Hellraisers take an extremely convincing fight, and RP is available, no Death Ward. Even if Witch Doctor was alive right now, this is looking so grim for VP.
It really is. I think the only silver lining is that they don't have Exorcism anymore for Aphonia, and the Tier 3 tower isn't going to be dropping as fast, but still, that Witch Doctor ultimate, it didn't cut the cake. Guardian Angel was able to come out, and the only hero that wasn't hit by it, or that was in range, was the Slark, and he was inside the Shadow Dance. That's going to be a clean set of barracks for Hellraisers, and it looks like it's going to be a clean 2 sets of barracks. As Virtus Pro Polar, do they have anything to take them out of the base? Right now they have the Blink RP, but they just don't have the damage to follow it up.
And even if they do, I'm pretty sure it's going to be too late because this melee Rax is doomed to fall. Faceless Void, zoned out by Lightning, can't afford to jump in, and even if he did, going for Death Prophet is completely off the table. They're going to spend an RP onto Goddamn, but he just gets put into a bubble, so that RP literally did nothing. He's going to skewer back an Illusion, so that's not going to do anything either. Now RT's in the middle of everything, is going to go nuts, kill off 2 immediately. They're going to chase forward for Mag, and it's going to hit them so hard that VP Polar are going to call GG. They're the favorites to win this set, but Hellraisers had different plans. In 2 convincing consecutive games, Hellraisers are going to bump VP Polar down to the loser's bracket and secure their own spot in the grand finals of the Battle of Central Europe Season 3.
Yeah, as far as who they're going to be playing up against, Virtus Pro Polar will be up against the victor of Lions as well as Aftershock in the lower bracket finals. And we'll have to see if they're going to be able to come up for round 2 up against Hellraisers. It definitely shows that you can't get complacent. That game 1 looked so good for Virtus Pro Polar. After that, it was pretty much about to pretty much count out Hellraisers' chances like, oh my goodness, Virtus Pro, they have it in the bag. But Hellraisers proved that best of 3s do mean all 3 games if you're actually able to pull through. So well played to them. They're going to be in the finals of the Battle of Central Europe Season 3.
Alright guys, with that, it is also going to mark the end of us for today. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the casting. If you did, be sure to hit that follow button. You can also find us over on Twitch at HeflaTV12 and HeflaTV, our newest channel. If you like the casting in general, be sure to follow us also on Twitter and Facebook. It's all that at HeflaTV. YouTube.com/HeflaMoke is where the VODs will be up. Should be within the hour. I'm Mike Loris. You can find me at Mike Loris on Twitter. He's GrandestV. You can find him at GrandestV on Twitter. That's about it. Any final words before we close this out? I guess not. Alright guys, later.